Welcome, everyone, ladies and gentlemen, to the very first edition of Cannonball Run. I am your host, the Cannonball Alex Steele, and with me, as always, my co-host is the Package Andrew Steele. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing very well, thank you very much.
So, we wanted to start this podcast off. We're going to do things a little bit differently. You have a ton of wrestling podcasts out there that want to focus on a specific show, run down the card, go over storylines, what have you. What we want to do tonight for this pilot episode, and that's exactly what it is. It's a pilot, so don't expect anything spectacular. What we're going to do tonight is basically, we're here in Toronto this weekend, and we're here for SummerSlam weekend, obviously. And we're going to all 4 of WWE shows. We're going to Takeover, NXT Takeover Toronto. We're going to SummerSlam. We're going to Raw and SmackDown. What I want to do tonight is go over what matches we're looking most forward to and what we can expect on Raw and SmackDown. And if time allows and creativity allows, we might talk about some other stuff in regards to the wacky world of pro wrestling. So the first show we're going to be going to on Saturday is NXT Takeover Toronto. And this is probably going to be the best show out of the bunch. But tell me, Andrew, what match are you most looking forward to, or matches? We can talk about more than one.
Well, I'm going to talk the one match I'm looking forward to the most, no doubt about it, and I'm sure everybody else can agree with me on this, is Johnny Gargano versus Adam Cole 3. 2 out of 3 falls, 3 stages of hell. The first match being a one-on-one match chosen by Adam Cole. The second fall being a street fight chosen by Johnny Gargano. And if it goes to a third fall, NXT General Manager William Regal will come out and announce the third stipulation.
Okay. And I think the crux of that story is going to be what that third stipulation will be. If we've ever had any 2 out of 3 falls match or a 3 stages of hell match, it always goes to the third fall. It just makes sense from a storyline perspective, and just a general wrestling story perspective. So that's a big hook. Obviously, Cole and Gargano can get it done in the ring. So I'm very excited to see what they'll be able to bring. I, on the one hand, am looking forward to the Tag Team Championship match between the Street Profits and the Undisputed Era, for the simple fact that the Undisputed Era will regain their Tag Team Championships from the Street Profits and hopefully move ever closer to securing that championship gold for the Undisputed Era. But I think the Dark Horse match, and tell me what you think about this, is the triple threat for the North American Championship. Velveteen Dream versus Roderick Strong versus Pete Dunne. I mean, just the fact that Pete Dunne's on the card, it's just, it's going to be a great match.
I think this match is going to steal the show, if at all possible.
Okay, and why do you think that is? I mean,
you talk about a guy like Pete Dunne, who has held the WWE United Kingdom Championship for 685 days and has defeated all comers defending that title, except for one man who has taken it from him this past April in New York, which is Walter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Walter's definitely somebody we got to watch out for. But nevertheless, I think, the stigma always exists that TakeOver is always going to blow the main product out of the water. I certainly feel like it has the star power to do so. We're moving on to SummerSlam. The one, I think this one's probably going to be a briefer discussion than the previous, because while there may be more matches on the card, there will probably be less that we're looking forward to. And one that I'm looking most forward to is AJ Styles versus Ricochet, the rematch for the United States Championship. I think this is Ricochet's time to shine. It's Ricochet's time to show the world that first win wasn't a fluke against Samoa Joe, that he can hang with the rest of the boys, and he has the ability to become that face of the company, or the new face of the company. What say you?
Well, I think my match that I'm going to look forward to the most at SummerSlam, surprisingly enough for everybody else, including myself, it would have to be Charlotte Flair versus Trish Stratus.
That's a great idea.
I think that match is going to raise a lot of eyebrows because you talk about two multi-time women's champions, one being a WWE Hall of Famer, the other being the daughter of one of the greatest of all time, the Nature Boy, Ric Flair, and I think this is a match that Charlotte has to win if she wants to become the woman.
Absolutely right. I mean, I consider this a passing of the torch opportunity. I mean, how many trails has Trish Stratus blazed throughout her entire career? Getting women's wrestling, to kind of be cool and hip, and more than just the bra and panty spectacles that are a staple of the Attitude Era. I seriously think that Charlotte Flair definitely has the capability and the athletic ability to put on a next level caliber match. Not just a great match, but an awe-inspiring match. I personally challenge her to make this a 5-star match. Obviously, you're kind of dealing with Dave Meltzer, who's, some people say is the greatest worker in the history of the business, but the challenge is still laid out. I'm sure that Charlotte, in the back of her mind, wants to prove to everyone that she's the real deal in town, and to cap off a victory against Trish Stratus in her hometown, and put on a great match while doing it, telling a compelling story. Definitely one to look forward to.
Yes, absolutely. And I think Trish is going to bring her absolute best A game since ever. Like she has never faced someone like Charlotte Flair ever before. And I think Charlotte Flair will take Trish Stratus to the limit.
Well, not a question about it.
And Trish will probably take Charlotte Flair to the limit as well.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what Trish has left in the tank. She's definitely not a spring chicken, but at the same time, it looks like Father Time has passed her by. She hasn't aged a bit. She looks like she could definitely still go. I mean, we saw her in the Women's Royal Rumble in Philadelphia a couple of years ago.
I think it was last year. It was last year.
Last year's Women's Royal Rumble, where Trish Stratus
the first ever, if you will.
gotta have that in there. The first ever Women's Royal Rumble, and I gotta tell you, Trish Stratus really held her own against all comers, and the fact that she was able to hold her own in a battle royal like the Royal Rumble, and still have what it takes to do the things that she's capable of doing, is a testament. We'll see what happens when you have to square up and walk that aisle, as they say. I think other than that, I mean, it's Seth Rollins versus Brock Lesnar. I think is an interesting story, if not only for the fact that Brock is probably just punching another meal ticket. It'll be interesting to see if Seth Rollins can beat Brock Lesnar again, because the first match at WrestleMania, you and I were there at MetLife Stadium, and we saw how Seth basically just ambushed Brock, got him down to pieces, and just curb stomped him into oblivion. So he kind of caught Brock off guard. If Brock is focused and pays attention to Seth, there's probably going to be a problem for the Beast Slayer. I think that we'll have to see how the match goes. It could just be a complete annihilation. But other than that, the only other match of merit that I can see on the card is Becky Lynch versus Natalya, the submission match. Now, you and I saw on SmackDown on Tuesday night where Natalya was more focused than any time I've ever seen her. I mean, how long has she been in the women's division? How long has she, carried the division, or at least, helped other people get good matches? And, I think it's high time that WWE throws her a bone. And if I have no doubt in my mind that Becky Lynch will give a great match as well. But what do you say? Do you think that Natalya does knock off Becky Lynch here?
I think she does, and the reason being is she is in front of a home country crowd of Canada, and she has worked her butt off for the women's division for over the past decade, and I think it's going to be her moment, and it's going to be her time. I don't know if it's going to last long, but I think WWE would be smart to just give her that moment in Canada.
Yep, I think it's appropriate, and Canada, it is bizarro world, where they'll cheer for pretty much anything, boo for pretty much anything, but not what you would expect. So if nothing else, we're guaranteed an interesting environment. As far as Raw and SmackDown go, I want to take this opportunity to ask who you think should or could or is going to come up to the main roster, if anybody.
I would have to say that Johnny Gargano and Velveteen Dream come to the main roster. Johnny Gargano to Raw, Velveteen Dream to SmackDown.
Hey, why do you say that?
Because Velveteen Dream is that dude. He's got that it factor.
Yep.
And I think he can draw a crowd, and I think he can make Vince McMahon and this company a lot of money. Yep. Should they use him right?
That's the key word there, because we've seen so many talents come out of NXT and fall flat or not go anywhere or get stuck in the mid card. It's just it's a travesty for some, and then it's a mystery as to why some others that really weren't up to snuff in NXT, at least to some people's eyes, why who continue to find a modicum of success. Baron Corbin being a prime example. The one thing I will give Baron Corbin credit for, not that he asked for it, is I think he's a tremendous heel in that when he comes out, everybody's booing him out of the building, and he doesn't let it phase him. And I think the only thing that he should do is, just blow the fans off. Egg them on and things like that, but just not let him get his goat. Tell him I've got a microphone and you don't. Really kind of control the pace of his promos. But as far as going back to the main roster question, it's kind of a hard question for me to answer because I kind of don't want to see talent squandered. That said, it's not time for the Undisputed Era to come. They have to get draped in championship gold and then parade that around for a little while. But I seriously think that here's a weird pick for me. Shayna Baszler drops the championship to Mae Young at TakeOver and comes to SummerSlam, or comes to Raw or SmackDown the next day or so, or whatever.
And if she does, they were actually thinking of it last year after WrestleMania, or this past year after WrestleMania, or even last year after SummerSlam, where whether she would be Stephanie McMahon's bodyguard or she would feud with the Four Horsemen of WWE.
Yeah, well, that's a feud we've been waiting for since WrestleMania 35, 34 rather, in New Orleans. We were waiting. Obviously it's a dirt sheet. The dirt sheets first brought the concept to light, but you cannot deny that that can be a money match. For those fans that are interested in it. I guess the question is there interest or is there not? Here's in my opinion on the whole thing is obviously if you're going to do it, plan it out and build it out. But I think there's not enough steam in the angle to where I don't think they're ever going to get to it. It was a good idea at one time, and then things just kind of happened, and so they might have to go in a different direction. Maybe Shayna will start showing up as the NXT Women's Champion, just say, I'm bored of fighting with NXT's women. What do you people have? And just run roughshod all over the Raw and women and SmackDown Women's division. See if anybody could top her. It's
never say never.
Never say never. So some of the other things that we're going to be doing this weekend include we're going to see Ring of Honor's Super Summer Card.
Summer
Super Card. Thank you for the correction. Again, this is the pilot episode. So, we haven't really had a chance to really run down the card, but we're looking forward to seeing, potential future stars, doing their thing in Ring of Honor. Although I do find it a touch ironic that, if we were doing this about a year ago, this would have been one of the biggest shows we ever went to. Now, with half of Ring of Honor's roster, from Bullet Club forming AEW, it's kind of like, okay, well, who's left? I mean, plenty of talent is left, but if we're going to go ahead and take a segue into the formation of AEW, and the first couple of shows that we've seen, I'm interested to see. Obviously, we've had only 3 shows. Each of the 3 shows, for example, has had a match between the Lucha Brothers and the Young Bucks. And and of course the Lucha Brothers tag team, tag teamed against SCU at Fight for the Fallen. But there's going to be a match at All Out, a ladder match. So, I mean, I think it's for the new viewer coming in that hasn't heard of these people before. It's a great opportunity to have a trilogy of matches and to really understand what style they're going to be working and try to follow them as characters. I mean, some people are kind of sour on the fact that, we already saw, it's the same matches, it's the same matches. Well, we also live in the era of instant gratification. So, it'll, to the fans out there that are looking for the instant gratification, just take a step back. I really think that, if a story is told right, and it's, if the angle is done right, if the angle is blown off properly, you'll have a lasting impression, and you'll be able to shuffle the deck and offer new matches. So, what do you think when AEW comes up? What comes to mind for you?
When AEW comes up, they're preparing for this big show called All Out. It's going to start on August 31st. And then they're going to debut on national television on TNT on October 2nd. Mm-hmm. And they're going to do this every Wednesday. Mm-hmm. And the first one's going to be in Washington, D.C. And they recently announced that they're going to be in Boston the next week, and then the week after that in Philadelphia.
Yeah. So, what do you think might happen in each of these shows? Obviously, the big match is Chris Jericho versus Adam Page for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. Who do you think should win that match?
Adam Page, because Chris Jericho has done so much for the wrestling business over the past couple of decades. I think it's time that a young guy and a hungry guy like Adam Page walks out with the gold.
All right, I'm going to disagree with you there. I think Chris Jericho should be the AEW champion, and the reason for that is this. Number one, it's the chase. Fans do appreciate the chase. Number two, Chris Jericho is a world-renowned world champion, the first ever undisputed champion, 9-time Intercontinental champion, 28-year veteran. It would give the belt instant credibility, and what you want to do with your world championship is build a credible champion and a credible belt that will make it meaningful when the right person comes along to win it. Because, the stigma's already out there. Well, it's pretty much NWO 2.0. The boys are running the promotion, and they're going to put their friends on top. So to kind of break that stigma, or at least put a dent in it, have Jericho win the belt. Yeah. And, have Page honestly, fight for it and get a chance and eventually win in the future. Because, Page does seem to be, in my eyes, a world champion, credible athlete. Definitely an athlete, and, if he could just work on his character a little bit, again, this is coming from a guy who hasn't seen much of Adam Page. You're talking about a guy who, the first real Adam Page match that he watched was at All In, when it was a gimmick match against Joey Janela. But I've seen a couple of his things in New Japan, but I think he definitely has the look. He has the look and the feel of a star. So just give him some time and work with a veteran who will sell for him and make him look good, build him up, and then when he does win the big one, it'll mean so much more.
Yeah, let's talk about a little something else here. Alex and I were actually just driving down Toronto, minding our own business, and I saw on like our Twitter feed or so that a young lady named Teal Piper, whoever it is, who happens to be the daughter of Roddy Piper, is going to be in that Women's Casino Battle Royal.
Okay, yeah, but just so everyone is aware, AEW is hosting a Women's Casino Battle Royale for All Out. And what will the winner receive? Have you looked into that?
No, I have not looked into that, but I'm speculating, and this is just speculation. This is a pilot episode of the Cannonball Run. I'm speculating that the winner of this Battle Royal will challenge for the inaugural AEW World Women's Championship.
Okay, that's certainly something to fight for, or maybe they'll win the belt outright. But we had an interesting.
Actually, to stop you there, right there. That AEW World Women's Championship will actually be decided on October 2nd, as I was as I overheard.
Yep. The man with the facts right here. He rightfully corrected me, but the point we were trying to get to was we were having a really interesting conversation on the drive over, and I asked him, well, if Teal Piper is going to be, if we were in total fantasy booking, armchair quarterback mode, who would you see Teal Piper feud against? And I listened as you came up with name after name after name, and I mean, they were all good ideas, but the thing that I had in my head, have her feud with Rowdy Ronda Rousey over the fact that Rousey is using Piper's gimmick, but then she's going, no, he's my dad, I'm using the gimmick. What do you think of that alone could at least, there's a story there. Should it be told is another story.
I don't know if it's going to be told or actually if it should be told, but it is a good idea, and I do welcome that at any given time. But I'm actually thinking that she would have to feud with somebody else. Like, I don't know, someone from AEW, especially someone from AEW. I don't know whether it be Brandy Rhodes or Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, or anybody.
All right, well, the mind reels, obviously, but, and I guess speaking of developments, one other development that I'm going to bring to light because of Twitter is the fact that the 2019 Mae Young Classic is coming. We were kind of talking about in the car where, hey, it's kind of odd that usually around this time we know who the competitors are going to be, when the tournament's going to take place, when the episodes are going to be taped. But yes, we did find out that there will be a 2019 edition of the Mae Young Classic. I truly look forward to these tournaments every year. I think they really started something special with the Cruiserweight Classic, which is still my favorite tournament of the bunch. But it'll be interesting to see what new crop of women's wrestlers will be available to showcase their talents, and which ones will actually get the push they need to get to the big time.
And I think Tegan Knox makes her return, and not only that, should she take care of herself and not get injured, she's going to win the whole thing and get a massive push.
I would, I have to admit, I got to do my research. I got to be a broadcast journalist here with the podcast. But if I look her up and I take a look at her matches, I am sure that she will, endear herself to me. What I saw at the Mae Young Classic when she hurt herself was impressive. It was just sad to see her bounced so early and then having to, take the time off for surgery because she probably could have been a really, really big star. So I think at this moment in time, I think the creative juices are running a little dry. So we're just gonna stop it here while we have the opportunity. But we invite you. Go and take a look. We invite you to come check this out on YouTube. We'll try to put it up on a website to see if we can have it available in an audio format. But this was the pilot episode of the Cannonball Run, and we're not even sure if that's what it's going to be called. But you best bet that good things are coming.
And yes, we actually challenge you to come up with a better name of the podcast other than the Cannonball Run. Leave a comment or shoot us an email at acondor14@comcast.net.
I would actually ask them to use cannonballalexsteel@gmail.com. So we'll edit that out. Use the email cannonballalexsteel@gmail.com if you want to submit any feedback to the podcast or leave a comments in the comments section. Other than that, I think this is really exciting. The fact that we just recorded a pilot episode, obviously we're going to have to work on the structure and work on the mannerisms and how we're even going to do this in the future. Because we're doing this out of a hotel room in Toronto, Canada, but the studio may actually exist elsewhere. So thank you very much for your time. We'll do our best to come up with new content. And until then, this is your boy Cannonball Alex Steele signing off.
And I am the Package Andrew Steele. We are the Steels,
and we are for real.